When did your family start feeling like strangers? My name is Carol, and I'm 62 years old. If you had asked me 2 months ago to describe my life, I would have used one word: blessed. My husband, Robert, passed away 5 years ago, and the grief was a heavy coat I thought I'd never take off. But my son, Mark, and his wonderful wife, Emily, wrapped me in so much love that the cold didn't seem so bad anymore. They gave me the greatest gift of my life, my grandson, Leo. He has his grandfather's eyes. My little house in the suburbs is quiet, maybe too quiet some days, but it's filled with warmth. Every surface holds a framed picture. Mark's high school graduation, his wedding day to Emily, the first photo of them bringing Leo home from the hospital. That's my favorite. Mark is looking at his son with a kind of awe, and Emily is looking at Mark with a smile so full of love it could light up a room. That picture was my reality. It was the foundation of my world. Mark and Emily lived just 10 minutes away, and I was over there more often than not. I never wanted to be one of those mothers-in-law you hear about, the kind who interferes and criticizes. No, I made it my mission to be a help, not a hindrance. I'd bring over a casserole so Emily wouldn't have to cook after a long day. I'd watch Leo so she and Mark could have a date night. I'd help with the laundry or the garden without ever being asked. Emily always seemed so grateful. "Carol, you're a lifesaver," she'd say, giving me a hug. "I don't know what I'd do without you." We were close. I loved her like the daughter I never had. She was a bit quiet, more reserved than my boisterous Mark, but I always thought of it as a gentle calm. She was the steady shore to his enthusiastic wave. They seemed perfect for each other. Their life, from the outside and from the inside, looked like a storybook. The inciting incident, the moment the first crack appeared in that perfect foundation, happened on a Tuesday. Mark and Emily had gone on a much-needed weekend trip for their anniversary, leaving a 5-year-old Leo with me. It was our special time. After I dropped him back at their place on Tuesday morning and saw him off to kindergarten, Emily called. "Carol, you are an angel for watching him." She said, "Listen, the house is a bit of a mess after we rushed out. Would you mind just tidying up the spare room? My parents are thinking of visiting next week, and it's become a dumping ground." "Of course, sweetie." "Not a problem at all," I said, happy to help. The spare room also served as their home office. It was filled with boxes, a few pieces of old furniture, and a large bookshelf overflowing with books. I started by dusting, then began organizing the bookshelf, which was sagging in the middle. I decided to take all the books off to redistribute the weight. I was pulling out a stack of heavy art history textbooks when it happened. A small, dark brown leather book, no bigger than my hand, slipped from between the pages and fell to the floor with a soft thud. I picked it up. It had no title, just a simple elastic band holding it shut. It felt soft, worn. I knew, instinctively, what it was. A diary. I should have put it back immediately. I know I should have. Every moral fiber in my body screamed at me to close it, to put it back on the shelf and forget I ever saw it. But a different voice, a quieter, more insidious one, whispered in my ear. It was curiosity, a powerful and dangerous thing. I thought, what could be in here? Probably just her thoughts on motherhood, her love for Mark. I convinced myself it would just be a sweet confirmation of the perfect family I already knew we were. I told myself I'd just peek at one page. So, I sat down in the dusty armchair in the corner of the room, My heart was beating a little too fast. I slipped the elastic band off the cover, and I opened the book. That was the moment my world began to end. And that was the moment the central question of my life was planted. What secrets was this perfect family hiding, and would we survive them? The first page I turned to was dated about a year ago. Emily's handwriting was neat, a looping cursive that was so at odds with the ugliness of the words. October 12th. Carol came over again today, unannounced. She brought a lasagna. Mark praised her like she'd just discovered fire. "Isn't my mom the best?" he said, kissing my cheek. I just smiled. He doesn't see it. He doesn't see that she's not helping. She's taking over. This isn't my house. It's her house. Second edition. Sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating. I wish she would just go away. The air left my lungs. I read it again. And then a third time. Suffocating. Taking over. I thought of all the times I'd dropped by, my hands full of groceries or a home-cooked meal, thinking I was easing her burden. In my mind, I was being the perfect mother-in-law. In her diary, I was a monster. My first internal obstacle was a wave of shame so powerful it made me dizzy. Shame for reading her private thoughts. And a confusing, hot shame for the resentment I had unknowingly caused. I should have stopped there. I should have thrown the diary down and run out of that house. But I couldn't. It was like watching a train wreck. I was horrified. But I couldn't look away. I had to know more. I had to know how deep this went. This began the escalation. I flipped through the pages, and things went from bad to worse. Every entry was another blow. November 5th. Mark and I had a huge fight last night after his mom left. I tried to tell him that I feel like he never takes my side, that it's always Mom said this or Mom thinks we should do that. He told me I was being ungrateful. He said his mom just wants to be involved in our lives. He doesn't get it. He's not married to me. He's married to his mother. The words "mama's boy" echoed in my head. I had always been proud of my close relationship with Mark. Now, I saw it through Emily's eyes, a suffocating bond that was poisoning his marriage. My love for my son had become an external obstacle to his wife's happiness. Everything I did, every gesture of love, was being twisted into something sinister in the pages of this book. My internal conflict grew. Was I really this blind? Had I been so caught up in my own loneliness after Robert's death that I had smothered the one family I had left? I kept reading, my hands trembling. The entries became darker, more desperate. She wrote about feeling trapped, about dreaming of another life, a life before Mark, before Leo, before me. Then, about 6 months back, a new name appeared. Alex. April 21st. I ran into Alex today at the coffee shop. I haven't seen him since college. It felt so easy talking to him. He actually listened. He looked at me, not through me, for 10 minutes. I felt like myself again. Not a mom, not a wife, just Emily. Alex's name appeared more and more frequently. Lunch meetings, long text conversations she would delete before Mark got home. Each entry was a knife twisting in my gut. She was having an affair. My son, my wonderful, loving Mark, was being betrayed. And I, his mother, was the only one who knew. The weight of the secret was crushing, but I hadn't reached the bottom yet. The worst was still to come. I flipped to one of the most recent entries from just a few weeks before their anniversary trip. This was the entry that would become the all is lost moment of my life. September 28th. Leo asked me today if he looks more like me or Daddy. I nearly threw up. I looked at him, at his bright blue eyes and sandy blonde hair, and all I could see was Alex. Mark's family has brown eyes, all of them. Robert, Carol, Mark, all brown. It was a one-time mistake. A moment of weakness and stupidity with Alex right after Mark and I had that horrible fight about his mother moving closer. It was around the same time Leo was conceived. I've lived with this fear for 6 years, this horrible, terrifying secret. What if Leo isn't Mark's son? The guilt is eating me alive. I love my son, but I am living a lie that could destroy everyone, especially Mark. He would never forgive me. I wish I could just disappear. I dropped the diary. It fell open on the floor, the awful words staring up at me. The room spun. My grandson, my Leo, the little boy who I loved more than life itself, might not be my grandson at all. This was my deepest despair. Every pillar of my life had been demolished in the span of 1 hour. My son's marriage wasn't just unhappy. It was a fraud. The daughter-in-law I adored was a stranger who despised me and had deceived my son in the most profound way possible. And Leo, my sweet Leo, was at the center of a lie that could tear him apart. I sat there, on the floor of that silent house, completely and utterly broken. The stakes were no longer just about unhappiness. They were about identity, betrayal, and the very definition of our family. I was holding a truth that would shatter my son's heart, destroy his life, and potentially ruin a little boy's future. There was no hope left. There was no easy way out. Everything was lost. And I was the one who had to decide what to do with the ashes. For a long time, I just sat there, paralyzed. My mind raced through a dozen impossible scenarios. Should I burn the diary and pretend I never saw it? I could try to live with the lie, watching my son raise a child that might not be his, watching Emily pretend to be a wife she didn't want to be. But the thought made me feel sick. The secret would be a poison in my own soul, tainting every smile, every hug, every "I love you, Grandma." Should I tell Mark? I pictured his face, the confusion, the denial, and then the utter devastation as the truth sank in. It would break him. It would shatter his belief in love, in his wife, in his own life. I couldn't do that to him. I couldn't be the one to swing the hammer that would bring his world crashing down. I realized the main conflict wasn't just Emily's secret. The main conflict was inside of me. It was a war between my instinct to protect my son from pain and the new, horrifying knowledge that the only way forward was through it. Hiding the truth was just a slower, more painful form of destruction. My transformation began on that dusty floor, the old Carol. The one who baked casseroles and believed in fairy tales died in that room. A new Carol had to be born, one who understood that love isn't about creating a perfect, painless world. It's about having the courage to face an imperfect, painful reality. I knew what I had to do. I couldn't go to Mark, but I had to go to Emily. I picked up the diary and drove home, my mind a blank. I waited until the next day. I called Emily and asked if I could come over after she dropped Leo at school. I could hear the hesitation in her voice, but she agreed. When I walked into her kitchen, I was holding the diary. I didn't hide it. I placed it on the kitchen island, between us. Her face went pale. The color drained from her cheeks, and her eyes were wide with terror. She knew. My voice didn't shake. It was calm, filled with a sorrow so deep it left no room for anger. "Emily," I said softly. "I was tidying the spare room, like you asked. This fell from a bookshelf, and I did something unforgivable. I read it." She didn't speak. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "I know," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I know everything." That was when she broke. The dam of secrets and lies she had maintained for years burst, and she collapsed into a chair, sobbing. It wasn't the cry of someone caught. It was the cry of someone who was finally, horribly free. And we talked. For hours. She told me everything. The loneliness she felt in the marriage, the way my constant presence made her feel inadequate, the fight with Mark that led her to seek comfort in the arms of an old flame, and the 6 years of crushing guilt and fear about Leo's paternity. She wasn't a monster. She was a flawed, frightened woman who had made a terrible mistake and had been living in her own private prison ever since. The central question, what was the terrible secret, was now answered in all its heartbreaking detail. The main conflict could now be resolved. I told her, "We can't go back. We can't unknow this. The family we thought we had is gone. It was an illusion." She looked up at me, her face blotchy and full of despair. "What are we going to do?" Here. My transformation became complete. The old me would have tried to fix it, to manage it, to smooth it over. The new me knew that wasn't my role. "No, Emily," I said gently. "The question is, what are you going to do? This is your life, your marriage, your son, but you can't do it alone anymore. You have to tell Mark the truth." I saw terror flash in her eyes. "He'll leave me. He'll hate me. He might," I admitted. "And it will be the hardest thing both of you will ever do. But you are living a lie, and it's destroying you. It will eventually destroy him, too. The truth might break your marriage, but the lie will break your souls." The conclusion wasn't a happy one. It wasn't me forgiving her and us all hugging it out. It was a painful, bittersweet resolution. The resolution was the decision. To face reality, I told her I would be there, not to take sides, but to support them both through the fallout, to support Leo. She finally nodded, a small, terrified gesture of agreement. The story ends there, not with a neat bow, but with the terrifying, necessary decision to finally tell the truth. They would get a paternity test. They would face the consequences. The perfect picture on my mantelpiece was shattered forever. But in its place was a chance, however slim, to build something real. I had changed. I was no longer the keeper of a perfect image, but a guardian of a difficult truth. And in a strange way, that felt more like real love than any casserole I had ever baked. When I look back on that time, I realize that the little leather diary wasn't the only thing full of secrets. Our whole family was. We were all keeping a secret from each other. The truth of how we really felt. I was pretending I wasn't lonely. Emily was pretending she wasn't drowning, and Mark was pretending he didn't see the cracks forming all around him. We were all so busy trying to be the perfect family in the picture frame that we forgot how to be a real one. This experience taught me a powerful emotional truth, one that I think resonates with so many of us. It's this: the prettiest pictures can hide the most painful secrets. And true love isn't about maintaining a perfect illusion. It's about having the courage to face a messy reality. A perfect family isn't one with no problems. It's one where people are brave enough to talk about them, to face the ugliness, and to love each other through it. My purpose in telling you this story, my why, is to hopefully save another family from learning this lesson the way I did. The ultimate goal here isn't just to share my drama. It's to encourage you to choose honesty, even when it's the most terrifying option. I connected the dots in my own life. My transformation from a woman who enabled a perfect lie to one who supported a difficult truth is what saved us. It didn't save the marriage. Mark and Emily are separated now, working through things with a therapist. We still don't have the results of the paternity test, but it saved us from the poison of deceit. We are no longer pretending, and whatever happens, Leo will be surrounded by adults who are brave enough to be honest. So, I want to deliver my call to action to you. I want you to think about your own life, your own family. Is there an unspoken truth hiding behind your family photos? A conversation you've been avoiding because you're afraid of the fallout. Maybe it's not as dramatic as my story, but every unspoken truth, big or small, creates distance. Maybe it's time to be brave. Share this story with someone you think needs to hear it. And more importantly, let us know in the comments below about a time when choosing honesty, though difficult, made a relationship in your life stronger. Your story might just give someone else the courage they need. If this story touched you, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the next story. Thank you so much for listening.